and then we'll help you out with whatever that emergency might be, large or small. Otherwise, please remain seated during the entire tour. Keep arms and legs in the vehicle at all times. The studio is private property, so if you do drop a phone or can't wait for the restroom, just pull the cord and we'll help you out. Just if you feel like you need to go to the bathroom, don't wait too long, because it usually takes a few minutes to get somebody to get you to a restroom, so don't wait till the last minute. You'll thank yourself later.
Oh, look.
Please no smoking.
It's almost done.
I'm going to pause the safety for a moment so we can look to the right side and see Super Nintendo World growing up over there. Look at that thing.
It's awesome. Oh my
I
god.
have a graphic to show you. Super Nintendo World will be opening in early 2023. Just keep your eyes on the Universal website and social
Are you excited for Super Nintendo World?
We'll keep you updated on exactly when it's happening, but soon it will be ours. Back to the safety. Don't smoke anything. And be prepared for some loud noises, some sudden tram movements, fire effects, water effects. Please don't use selfie sticks on board, and just be kind to each other, and we're all getting out of this thing all right. That's all the safety, except for this on your right side.
Hey, Jimmy.
That's Fire Station 51.
Oh, look at that
They do a great job
dinosaur.
keeping this place safe. And there's a secret dinosaur somewhere in this area. See if you can find it.
That's awesome.
How about it?
Hey.
Universal Studios opened on March 15th of the 1915. And if you want to see what that opening day looked like, take a look at your screens. Everybody had nice hats. And that man right there with the hat in the air, that's Carl Laemmle. He is the founder of Universal Studios, and that's his happiest day, opening the studio. They called him Uncle Carl, and that was mainly because of his kind and generous nature. But also, most of his family worked here, and he was several people's uncle. This was very much a family business in the early times. Now it's the oldest working movie studio in the world. And on your left is the oldest and largest soundstage
It's
in the
close.
studio, Stage 12, built
Super
in
Nintendo
1929.
World.
And on your screens you'll see some of the titles that filmed inside of it. Frankenstein's Lab was in that one. Dracula's Castle was in there.
There's a tree and you see the flagpole?
Scarface's Mansion.
Yeah. The Mario flag.
Doc Brown on the
It's
Clock
exciting.
Tower. Welcome Center from Jurassic Park was there. Some Grinch action.
Oh, look
And
at
sometimes the
inside
outdoors
Super
can be created
Nintendo
in
World.
these spaces as well. Really, it's only a limited
That's a
by
Yoshi.
people's imaginations. That's what they look like when they're empty, but they're almost never empty. They just built 8 new ones, so we now have 36 sound stages, and they're almost all busy with production. The ones on our left side here are currently home to a television show called Grand Crew. That stars Nicole Byer, who you might know from shows like Nailed It on Netflix. She's super funny. And their stage is right next door to the stages that are home to the second season of a series called Bel Air. Bel Air is the modern retelling of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air from the 1990s. Very much its own show, and a great show as well. You can see the whole first season on NBC streaming service Peacock. They're well into season 2 now. This is their base camp on the left. The first trailers are for wardrobe. Those are where they keep the costumes for the show. But there's also hair and makeup, bathrooms, dressing rooms for actors, catering. Everything that show needs is in the base camp. And it's all on wheels, so when they need to go out and film in the real world, they just fire up the trucks and everything becomes mobile. They use 3 stages for that one show, and that's not uncommon. Usually a couple of stages will have the main characters' houses and sets they film on every week, and then one stage is just for scenes that they film for individual episodes. Right before Bel Air was in here, it was the HBO Max show called Hacks. Right before Hacks was Saved by the Bell, and for many years before that, those stages were home to a comedy called Superstore, which I enjoyed. So things do come and go out of these stages all the time. It's mainly television shows, sometimes movies, but we also make talk shows here. Kelly Clarkson makes her talk show here. They make a lot of competition shows here, like The Voice and American Ninja Warrior, but also commercials, music videos, the news. They make a little bit of everything at the studio these days. That wasn't always the way. Originally, it was only movies, and only Universal movies. They started making television in the 1960s. And on your screens, you'll be able to see some of the titles that filmed here over the decades. Once Universal began making television, they became one of the biggest providers of TV shows for all the major networks. And one of those networks became a part of Universal in 2004, NBC. So we do make a lot of NBC shows. The stage on the right is home to one of those. The series Quantum Leap films in that stage on your right side. And on your left, you got Ted the Bear over there raising a really dirty martini to wish you a happy Sunday. He's celebrating because they just finished filming the first season of his television series, The Ted the Bear Show. So those are a couple of our new projects right now.
Robert.
Quantum Leap.
Yes.
Do you want to see the movie Puss in Boots?
And the building coming up on the right side.
Yeah, I wanna
this
see
one's
that
called
movie.
The Bud Westmore building. Bud Westmore was the head of the makeup department here at the studio for
Oh wait,
many
that's your
years.
name.
And that building over there, they named after him. That's where they build everything the shows need around here.
I see the
Woodworking,
Mario
metalworking,
poster.
Sculptures, signs.
I
They
see
can
the
make
Mario
anything in
poster.
there.
You see it right here?
Now coming up on your left, we got
Guys, I see the
production
Mario
bungalows
poster.
next.
Hold on. You'll
This
see it
first
in a
one
second.
is shared by $7. That's Dwayne Johnson's production company.
The
and
Super
Monkey
Mario
Ball,
Brothers movie
Jordan
poster.
Peele's company. They built the bungalows way back in the
There it is, right
1940s
there.
to be used as dressing rooms for actors. But today,
The
these are
Super
home to
Mario
some of the
Brothers
biggest
movie,
production
here we
companies
come.
in Hollywood.
April
This is where
7th.
they're developing ideas for new shows and movies.
I'm excited for that,
Kind of
Dad.
Headquarters for things that are currently filming
Awesome.
or keeping their current projects on track as well.
I can't wait.
The final
Yeah, I love
bungalow
it.
on your left, you'll see the silhouette of Alfred Hitchcock right by the front door. That was Alfred Hitchcock's bungalow back in the 1960s. But since the 80s, it's been home to the De Laurentiis production company. And they've been making great movies since then. Now here comes some of our newest stages on your left side.
Johnny
These are
Carson.
about 5 years old. They just finished much newer ones than this, but most of the stages we passed today were built in the late 1920s and early 1930s. So these are pretty new compared to that. They called these the Will and Grace sound stages when they originally built them. They used to make Will and Grace in here, the comedy, but it had its final season. So now 2 shows film in here. One is called Lopez versus Lopez. That's a new
We can
George
see
Lopez
King
show
Kong
he's
right
working
there,
on
but we're
with
gonna
his
go
daughter,
there in
Maya
in
Lopez.
an hour.
And the other comedy in here is called American Auto. Starring
Hey,
Andy
cousin.
Dyer, who you might know from Saturday Night Live. But also here's where we enter the back lot of Universal, and this is where we got all the big outdoor environments. Like the first one you'll see on the right is the big city
Hey,
settings
cousin.
here at Universal. These are the Metro sets. It's got glass and steel offices, back alleyways, theaters, hotels, department stores. It's a mix of all kinds of buildings, so filmmakers can create whatever part of whatever city they need this to be. This is the residential portion on your right. It's called Brownstone Street. Our route's going to take us right in front of these brownstones because there's currently some setting up for filming going on in our small town part of the back lot known as Courthouse Square, but you'll get a little peek into it. It's set up right now to film an episode of Quantum Leap next week, where the newspaper stand and all that is, but that's where they filmed movies back in the 80s, like Back to the Future Part 2, The Gremlins, and things like that. The history goes back to the 60s, all the way back to Kill a Mockingbird. And now here's a nice close-up of these brownstones, and on your screens I'll show you some examples of people that have called these home over the decades. The history of the brownstones goes back to the 1940s. Back then, the comedy duo of Abbott and Costello had an apartment in there, and they were a couple of Universal's biggest stars back in those times.
Mom, my cousin.
Back to the big city, though.
My cousin wants to say
New
hi to
York
you.
Street. Sometimes this is New York City. Comedies like Brooklyn Nine-Nine would use it as New York. Movies like Captain America: The First Avenger
Robert.
shot some scenes
My
out here
cousin
as
wants
New
to say
York.
hi.
But it's also been Chicago for classics like The Blues Brothers and The Sting. It was Baltimore for Hairspray
My
Live.
family's
Really,
here.
it's been about every city you can think of over the years, and sometimes not a city at all. They also built the obstacle course for American Ninja Warrior right down the middle of this street when they do the LA qualifying rounds.
Hold on, give me a sec, guys.
But here's a little video that Jimmy Fallon made for us out here, so you can see what this street looks like when it's all ready for filming. Here's Jimmy.
Robert, Robert, can you press the camera button? Alright, thank you.
What's that hot dog over there? An old woman. Tough lady. This is my favorite hot dog guy. Hey, buddy. How's it going? Remember me? No. Just like old times. Gotta love New York City.
Hey, I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
Yeah, it's cool, guys. I was just walking there. So it's not exactly New York, but a lot of times when you see New York in the movies, it was shot right here on the Universal Metro sets. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Even if you make it here on the Universal lot.
The most interesting thing about that
I will,
clip
love you.
is that he was not here. Jimmy Fallon was in New York City on a soundstage, and the only things really there are that hot dog guy and that taxi cab. All our stuff, they just put into it later on in post-production. So, it's all lies. Or rather,
Alright,
it's
guys,
the
we're going to
illusion
King
of
Kong.
reality is a better way to put that. And creating that illusion is one of the main jobs here. More on that lately, because now we're going in this cave. And as we enter this cave,
Hello, Evan.
I'm going to let Peter Jackson tell you what made him want to be a filmmaker, and also give you a little hint about what's about to happen to us. Here's
We're
Peter
going to King
Jackson.
Kong, guys. So I must put my glasses on.
It's the original King Kong that made me want to direct movies. I saw that movie on TV when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I wanted to become a filmmaker. I like films that just take you away from your real life and sweep you up on the edge. And Kong literally does that. I mean, you're on board the ship, you're sailing to a lost island, you're encountering monsters and creatures from, prehistoric times. So I was thrilled when Universal invited me back to Skull Island, and it's great to have you along for the ride. Now, we have created this 3D immersive experience, so you're going to have your glasses ready. Don't put them on yet, but just have them in your hand because we're about to return to Skull Island.
That is correct, everybody. We are about to return to Skull Island, and if you've never done this before, this is definitely one of the thrill ride parts of our tour today. So just make sure you stay seated, hang on to your stuff. If you drop something in here, you usually can't get it back till much later in the day. So do your best to hang on to your things and get your 3D glasses ready. We're going in.
All right.
Okay, glasses on everybody. We're back in Skull Island.
There you go. Oh God! Oh God! You just ate a small dinosaur. Oh. King Kong! Let's do this! Oh God, oh God! Going to the left! Oh God! Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God! Yeah! Dang! Whoa! Wait, watch out! No! Adriel. Freak! Dude, a spider! No! God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! You're ready? No! King Kong! Alright, let's go, King Kong! Hey, Sebastian.
King Kong 360 3D, everybody.
We did it.
I mean, King Kong, the work movie.
We survived.
And it's intense, so let's check
Sebastian
it out. everybody.
joined.
Oh, nice.
Looks like cartoons.
He told me that he reminds me about the second Mario movie.
Part
yeah.
3 looks better than they did when they went in there. I don't know how they do.
Sebastian,
Part
I
4
just
is
want to
still
say
there.
thank you for reminding me about the Super Mario Brothers movie that I'm gonna
And
like
Part
more.
1 Also, everybody looks comfy up here.
Thank you.
Some of you got some dinosaur saliva on you.
That's
but
the
I'm
other
told that's
Sebastian.
harmless. It should dry in a couple of days.
He just reminded me about the Mario movie that he
I
just
love that
reminded
part
me.
of our tour.
Nice.
I've been in there, let's just say, multiple times.
I said
I
thank
still
you
don't
to
hit it. It's just a really well-made action scene. Everywhere you look, part of the story's unfolding. Not a single frame is wasted.
Oh.
And those are all hallmarks of a great director. Writers create the stories. Directors figure out the best way to take it off the page and put it on the screen. So we were lucky to get Peter Jackson to create that just for our tour. But you're also going to get to see what we used to do here before King Kong was around. There's an old bridge over there on the right. That was known as the Collapsing Bridge. We used to ride onto that thing, and it would shake around like it was going to fall over.
I see the Wizard World of Harry Potter.
The train parked on the front
The
was
castle
another
on the
old
front.
part of the tour known as Runaway Train. The studio tour just turned 58 years old this year. So that's just a little piece of tour history back there. Many things have come and gone over the years, but we still have some stuff from the original 1964 tour and some new things that just showed up this year. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see all that
Do you
on our
remember
route
the
today.
original King Kong?
I remember.
But coming up right now, vehicles. Anytime a vehicle appears on
Hey,
screen,
Rudy.
they call it a picture car. Even if it's a boat.
Sorry,
they still
Rudy,
call
I
it a
can't
picture
join.
car. I do not know why. But coming up ahead of us on the left side, you're about to see a whole lineup of picture cars that have been used in productions at Universal through the years, and each one served a different purpose. I'll point out as many as I've got time for as we roll by, but here they come now. First one just got a fresh coat of paint on it. It looks real good right now. It's Magnum PI's Ferrari, right next to Biff's convertible from Back to the Future. These would be called hero cars because the main actors drove them in those productions. The Back to the Future 2 cars were just for background to establish the time period of the future, which was 2015 in that movie. These Flintstone cars were all created in the Bud Westmore building that we passed earlier on the tour. We have one Ford Anglia from Chamber of Secrets. They used 17 and a half of those cars making that movie. There's a gyrosphere from Jurassic World. In the movie, it looked like it was covered in glass, but all the glass was just made on a computer and put in the movie in post-production. The boat from Jordan Peele's Us was aged to look older. And near the end, we got a Bradley fighting vehicle from the Transformers. It looks like metal, but it's mainly particle board, plywood, fiberglass. Again, creating the illusion of reality is the biggest job here. And the way people get that job done can change as technology changes all the time. But there is one film franchise that did change the way we do special effects forever. That's what we're going to explore next. And here to welcome us to this area, no one does it better than this guy here.
Jurassic World.
To Jurassic Park. Thank you. Even though I am starting to look more like him every day, and eventually I won't play that clip, I'll just do it myself. Welcome. And you will be
Oh, I remember there was
surrounded
the
now
dancing
with set
cars
pieces
there.
from the first 3 Jurassic Park films. One of the first things you'll see to the right is a boat from Jurassic Park 3. The
Jurassic.
big one's going to come up on your left side. It's a mobile laboratory from the second movie
Hey,
called The
Sissy.
Lost World. And I'll play one of the scenes they used it in so you can see it in action as we ride by.
JSSC.
In the scene is getting pushed off a cliff by a T-Rex. And that cliff is one of the parking garages at the front of the studio. Also, dinosaurs
Oh,
live in
God.
these bushes up here, so look out. Oh no, they just got the first car good. Car 2, there's no escape.
Oh,
Just
look.
let it happen.
Look,
Car 3, cover your beers.
there's dinosaurs
Car 4, you're on your
spraying
own.
water. Oh no.
Down on you. As
Oh
the
my god.
Now, the first Jurassic Park movie came out in 1993, which is starting to feel like a long time
1993.
ago now.
Oh, yeah.
But that was really the beginning of the
1993
digital
is what
age.
Jurassic
They
made.
made a dinosaur on a computer, put it in the movie, and
I
it looked
know.
incredible. Today we get digital effects in almost everything we watch, but Jurassic Park was a big turning point for that technology. But as far as tech has come, sometimes the old ways are still the best ways, and that's what we're going to show you right now as we roll into the old Mexico part of the background. We'll show you how they make it rain in TV shows and movies.
Oh, this is Thunderstorm.
Even on a day like this when it's actually raining, you still got to make your own rain. There's no guarantee it's going to rain long enough or hard enough to finish shooting the scene you want. So everybody
Hey,
makes their
Vincent.
own rain. And you need a rain machine to do that. Rain machines are just giant sprinklers.
Giant
So you put those sprinklers high enough in the air, the camera can't see them, hook it up to a water source. Anytime I've seen it, it's been big water tanker trucks. And once
Sorry,
it's all
sorry.
hooked up and ready to go, you just turn it on and there you have it. There's the rain. Pretty simple.
Hey, Vincent.
Just some water and some gravity. Both of those things have been around a long time. And they try to make the drops as big as they can so it shows up better on film. Or they'll
Yes,
light it from
Vincent.
the side sometimes so you can see it better. And if it's dark and stormy, or bright and sunny, or foggy,
I see the water. I
each
see the
one of
water.
those things, that's a different
see the water,
meaning
it's
to the
coming.
story. So weather effects can be really
There it
good.
goes. There it goes. There it
But
goes.
you got to remember to turn it off because if
There
you
you go.
don't, this happens.
Oh no. I'm doing good. Oh my god.
That was a pretty big one. Now that flash flood was made just for the tour.
I'm in a
All this
studio
water
tour
gets
for a
recycled
live
up the
video.
hill and comes down again for the next tram. So that is the original water from 1968 you just saw back there.
That's crazy.
1968?
Now we enter the old
Water's
Mexico
older than
town
me.
square. Adriana was skeptical about that one. This town square has been in movies like The Three Amigos, Nacho Libre, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, television shows like Star Trek's Picard, a lot of great music videos here, like Janet Jackson did the whole Escapade video here, Lady Gaga did the whole Judas video here, and that's going to lead us right into the Old West next. The Old West area is called 6 Points, and the building that's going to be on the left of the first car right now, that's one of the only ones that has an inside where you can actually film a scene. They've got it all set up in there to film an episode of Killing It. Killing It stars Craig Robinson from The Office and Hot Tub Time Machine.
It is.
So they're filming in there next week. Quentin Tarantino used that one for his last movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You see a lot of these sets in that movie, so if you haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and you're old enough to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, check it out. You'll see a lot of this stuff in that. But it's also one of the oldest parts of the back lot. It's called 6 Points because it was originally 6 old western towns. That way they could film 6 westerns at the same time in the old silent film days. And in 1915, when the studio opened, they made almost 200 westerns out here, which sounds like a lot. But movies were only 5 to 10 minutes long in those days, and sound didn't matter. And they were making them 6 at a time, so you could really crank them out. This also brings us to the halfway point on our tour today, everyone. So just a quick safety reminder. Just remember, stay seated, pull the red cord if anything goes wrong. But so far, so great. Proud of us. Onward.
Why is there a COVID test?
Next up, you'll see a little lake on your left side. On the other side of this lake are the sound stages where they filmed the singing competition, The Voice. And that lake itself is home to roughly 24 mostly friendly ducks, and it's called Park Lake. That was the Mississippi River back in the 1930s for a musical called Showboat. The actor Paul
there's a
Robeson
Mario-
sang Old
Mario
Man River
poster.
there for that one. And then it became the Amazon River in the 1950s for this monster movie I'll put on your screen. That's what the lake looked like in 1954. For Creature from the Black
1954,
Lagoon.
the Mario Brothers movie.
It was the Pacific Ocean in the 60s for a TV show called McHale's Navy. And for many years, that lake was part of the tour. It was the Red Sea. The water used to part and our tram would ride through the Red Sea over there. So that little lake gets the nickname of Hollywood's Ocean because of all the bodies of water it's played through the years. It's always typecast as water, but that's just the nature of the business. Little Europe is next. Now, just like our metro sets are designed to play any big city, Little Europe is designed to play any small European village. And there's still some signs on some of these buildings from old productions. Like left side here, the front of this building's going to say, all chocolate everything. That's a leftover from a comedy called The Good Place. They filmed here for 4 seasons, using this as the afterlife. Straight down the street on your left-hand side, you'll see where they just built those 8 new sound stages. The HBO show Hacks has been filming on those recently. There's some signs in these next shop windows that are leftovers from a Disney Plus show called The Mysterious Benedict Society. I finally got around to watching The Princess Diaries Part 2. This was the fictional town of Genovia for that film. There was a musical version of Cinderella starring Whitney Houston and Brandy. They filmed out here. And that brings us next, though, to what this area is most well known for. On the right side, an area known as the Court of Miracles. And that is where many an angry villager used to gather to hunt down Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Wolfman, The Invisible Man, The Bride of Frankenstein. There were a lot of them. And almost all of Universal's early monster movies used Little Europe as their respective European villages. The monsters were extremely popular in the 1930s. They gave this place its identity back then as the Monster Studio, and we wouldn't be here today without them. It was thanks to the great success of these monster films that's what kept Universal from going bankrupt during the Great Depression. So Universal owes a great debt to these early movie monsters.
We're going
They're
to
a big
the
part of the
earthquake.
history, and still part of the future. They're always coming up with new ways to remake those movies too. All right, we got stage 50 next. We got about 30 seconds on the clock, so time to point out some other interesting features in this area. There's a whole house over there. That's where I live.
That's where.
Those are lies. I live in Van Nuys. That house was for a talk show called Home and Family that was on the Hallmark Channel for several seasons. It ended. So lately they've just been using that to shoot some scenes for Bel Air. That tree on your left is my favorite one on the tour. It just looks extremely climbable. Like you could really get up in that thing. I've never tried it before, but
Yep.
my tree climbing days are probably behind me.
Exactly.
I don't encourage any of you to do it either, though. It looks very old, though, like it's been here since the earliest days of our studio. More on that later if we get time, but right now we're going to go in Soundstage 50. This is where we get to see a stage on the inside when it's all dressed up and ready for filming.
We're going to the
This one is designed to be a subway station
subway
in
station.
San Francisco,
Earthquake.
set in the late 1980s.
Ah.
And once we're all the way up in here, we're going to do a special effects demonstration for you all. So just make sure you stay seated. Hang on to your things, everybody, because as soon as the tram stops, it's going to start a rockin'.
A rockin'?
So, get
What does
ready.
that
It
mean?
should be. Yeah. Right.
Oh god, oh god, oh god.
That was just a taste. Here comes the big one.
What? No! Whoa, whoa. Oh no, wow. Wow. Yikes. Earthquake. Oh no, there's a truck coming. No. Holy rocket chickens. Whoa. Whoa. Holy rats, holy rats. Holy Chuck E. Cheese rats, see? No. Wait, I think this one's open. On the right is open. Yikes. Yikes. Yikes.
Okay. That's probably the worst.
Oh,
of
the
it.
train is not
No,
coming.
wait, no.
Oh, water. Water. Watch out for water, guys. Oh my god. Fire, please. Oh wait,
That, my friends, was Earthquake.
that's the train, but it doesn't come out.
That's been part of the tour since 1988. A classic. And the kind of special effects you just saw, they call those kind practical effects. Practical usually just means real, so real fire, real water, real smoke. And those were the only kind of effects there were for a very long time. Today, most effects are digital. They make them on computers and then put them in the movie in post-production. But there are still many directors that prefer practical effects. Sometimes the real stuff just looks most realistic, and they also happen in real time while you're doing the filming, so you know if it worked or not and what it's going to look like right away. All right, moving on. Our next part of the tour here looks like somebody's in there right now, so we got to wait a second. But next is going to be our tribute to the 1975 blockbuster movie Jaws.
Jaws.
Jaws did film on location in Martha's Vineyard and on the Atlantic Ocean. But coming up on your right side,
We're going
we
to
have
Amity Island.
recreated
Welcome.
Amity Island. We're about to get to check it out and see what's happening over there today. Almost, anyway. Red lights. Nobody likes it. And since we got a second before the light is not red anymore, One
It has
other
to be
interesting
green.
fact about our Amity Island area, it was also the small town in another old television series called Murder, She Wrote, starring Angela Lansbury. Our little town here was the small town of Cabot Cove, and you could see Angela Lansbury walking through it or riding her bike through at the beginning of every episode of Murder, She Wrote. So it still says Cabot Cove on the boat dock, in fact, when we ride up in
Someone's on
here.
the left.
But other than that,
On your left.
totally dedicated to sharks. And it's going to be our turn soon. Soon. In the meantime, well, let me play you a quick clip here.
Okay.
Oh, never mind. Yeah. Oh, I thought we were going to go. Here's this is an episode of a show called Bones that used our earthquake thing for one of their special effects. Of course, as soon as I start playing it, now we're going to go.
Earthquake.
We'll be able to see most of it, though, as we head in here.
My eyes itch. Your eyes itch. Okay.
We made it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second.
Oh, look.
Oh,
On your
there's
right.
a shark out there right now.
Oh, no. Oh, no. There's a
lucky.
shark there. There's a freaking shark there.
Stick.
Oh, no.
There's
There's
a diver out there, too, but do not worry. He is trained to handle shark encounters. Observe.
Did you hear him?
Ah. It appears the training is not kicking in. Okay. Well, let's just go
Shark.
ahead and pause for a moment to give you time to explain to your children what happened back there. We're going to stop next to these gasoline barrels on the road. If you learn anything from video games, this will be the safest place. Ooh.
I believe it's gonna be hot. I believe it's gonna be hot. Ooh, it's a little hot. What? Oh, there's Jaws. There's Jaws. There's Jaws. Oh no. Jaws the shark.
It always gets somewhere. And when it's cool out, that fire feels real nice on days like this. But just check and make sure you still have eyebrows on your face if you're sitting on the right side of the train. That's one of the hazards. That shark has been trying to scare people since 1976. They added this
1976.
attraction to the tour the year after Jaws came out in theaters. And that shark works way better than the shark from Jaws ever did. The real shark from Jaws was named Bruce. They named it after Steven
Bruce?
Spielberg's lawyer. And Spielberg was only 26 years old when he made Jaws. That was his first really big movie. And it was almost his last really big movie. He wanted to film it on the real Atlantic Ocean using a giant mechanical shark that was supposed to swim in the real ocean. And both of those things turned out to be almost impossible to do. But he did finish that movie before it finished him, thanks to some really creative filmmaking, an incredible editor named Verna Fields, a great soundtrack by John Williams, a great script, incredible actors. All of those elements came together and made Jaws the biggest movie in the world for many years. It launched the career of Steven Spielberg in a big way, and he's still making movies. He had one just come out recently, it's in theaters now, called The Fabelmans, which I will see at some point. Now we got one of our suburban neighborhoods coming up on your
Hi,
left side.
Jaws.
The brown house on the corner was Boo Radley's house in the movie To Kill a Mockingbird back in 1960. So some of these houses do have a very long
1960.
history here, even older than that in some cases. But this one's a little younger on the right side. This was built in 1982 for a musical
1982.
starring Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton. It's called The Chicken Ranch. And this is one of the few
That's
that
a funny
actually
name.
also has an inside where you can film scenes. So it's what you call a practical set, as opposed to the facade right behind it. And it looks like we get to go down and see the second suburban neighborhood today. This one's called Colonial Street.
Colonial Street.
We don't get to go down here on the tour very often anymore. It's always busy with filming out here, television shows, commercials mainly. So it is a rare treat to get to see Colonial Street like this. And most of the houses are just empty shells of houses with nothing inside. But they also have a very long history here. These are some of the oldest we've got. Many of these homes were built for movies that filmed on sound stages in the 1940s. And when those movies were over, they put the houses in storage. And then when the rise of the suburbs happened in America in the 1950s, and movies and TV shows began being set in the suburbs, they busted all the houses they had out of storage, lined them up on one street, and had an instant neighborhood. There was once an old colonial mansion at the very end of the street. That's how it got its name as Colonial Street. And the entire street used to be on the other side of the movie lot. They moved it up here for a Tom Hanks movie in the 1980s called The Burbs, and it's been here ever since. But there is always a lot of action out here. Most recently, it was the television series Ted the Bear Show. They were out here most recently. But they also do a lot of the hometown interviews for The Voice here. When you think they're back in their hometowns, they really just stick them out here in front of one of these houses and do the interviews for them. But mainly it's been a lot for the Netflix show called Never Have I Ever, produced by Mindy Kaling. If you're familiar with that show, the main character Davy's house is here on Colonial Street. It's the yellow one coming up over here on the right side. They were out here a lot filming for season 4, and hopefully back for season 5 soon. It's a great show. Right next to Davy's house on the right, the purple house used to be the Munsters house for the television show The Munsters back in the 1960s. And next door to that, the brown house with the columns on the porch. This was Jimmy Stewart's house in a movie called Harvey in 1950, where his best friend was an imaginary rabbit. And I'll play a little clip for you of some other things that filmed on this street so you can see what it looks like on screen. Here's Tom Hanks and The Burbs in the 80s. Christina Ricci and Casper in the 90s. Nelly made a music video here in the early 2000s. And for 8 seasons, it was Wisteria Lane for a show called Desperate Housewives. And what's on your screen now is a show based on the movie Animal House. That was only on for 1 season. And that's a little overview of that neighborhood there, Colonial Street, when it's all dressed up and ready to film. All right, now at this point, we're roughly 15 minutes to the end of the tour, everyone, so hang in there. You're probably going to make it. But just in case you can't, remember to pull that red cord and we'll help you out. We're currently making our way up what they call Wilderness Road. They say the Universal lot is about 400 acres, but it's also built on the side of a very steep hill, so many of those acres are vertical and covered in wilderness. It does give us a lot of wooded areas to film in, but it's also home to a lot of wildlife. We get a lot of coyotes, a lot of raccoons, a lot of squirrels, some deer sometimes. And it's probably a little wet to see any of them today out here, though. Next up, we got some more picture cars coming up on your right side here. Now, a lot of these cars are from the Fast and Furious films, but there's some exceptions, like some vehicles from the theme park, like the double-decker bus used to be on London Street here. But then there's Dominic Toretto's Charger from Fast and Furious. And the last 3 cars are all Fast and Furious cars, but the yellow one right behind them there was for the movie Bumblebee.
Did you see the big Texas guy?
Yeah.
And right around the corner here, we got a piece of Hollywood history coming up next. And here we go. This is where we get to see the Bates Motel.
Bates Motel?
And on the hill behind it, the Bates House. This was the setting of Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 thriller, Psycho. We'll pause a moment to get a good look. Oh, wait. Looks like Norman Bates is here. He looks busy. And he should be. Norman Bates, small business owner, takes care of this hotel by himself, takes care of his mother all by himself, always hustling. Let's see what he's up to.
What is he up to? Let me see. What is that thing?
All right. Well, maybe we're just witnessing really good customer service. He's helping that lady to her trunk. Or maybe it's getting weird and we shouldn't be here anymore. He sees us, so sorry, Norman. We were just looking at the hotel. Nobody saw anything strange. Okay, there's the knife, so it is time to go. All right, we'll be moving on. Looks like I'm safe in the front, but somebody's going down in car 4. Thank you for your sacrifice. I'll tell your story when we get stopped somewhere. Oh, okay, no, they're fine. Everybody's fine. Now, Alfred Hitchcock is considered by many to be one of the great directors of all time, and he was certainly a master of suspense. Finished his career at Universal, making movies like Psycho, The Birds, and his television show, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, before he retired in
I see Jupiter's
1979.
Glam.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
here's a nice close-up of the house on your left. This is one of the things you would have seen on this tour in 1964.
1964.
And that leads us into the Crash Site set. Now, this one is from Steven Spielberg's 2005 movie, The War of the Worlds. And that is a real airplane. It was a retired 747 they purchased and then chopped into pieces just to film this one scene in this movie. I'll put that scene on your screen and you'll hear a few words about it from the creators.
The airplane crash site set is perfect.
That's what it looks like.
A set that is all designed around a vision that Steve had.
When we first began to sit down to talk about the War of the World, I thought, what if the 747 goes down right in a big neighborhood? Because it's just something you don't see.
You're doing good. You're doing good. Keep listening. Listen, man. Listen, I want you to close your eyes, okay? Okay, I'm closed. Robbie, get in. Get in.
So all this stuff looked really good on screen, and it's all real stuff. Again, what you would call a practical set, just like the practical effects.
Why is there a
we saw
school
earlier.
bus?
The alternative would be to create all this on a computer and put it in the movie later on, so you didn't have to haul an entire airplane out here.
Are those
But would it
Christmas
have looked
stuff?
as good? Probably not. They can make some really realistic backgrounds on computers now, and that's technology that's been around for a while. It just depends. Building a realistic set has its advantages. Sometimes the real stuff looks better on screen, and sometimes you can get a better performance from your actors when they're performing in realistic environments instead of in front of giant green or blue walls, being chased by tennis balls on sticks and things like that. So sometimes using the real stuff can be better. And sometimes not. It really just depends. If you're in a television series and you're in the same house every week, you definitely build that set. If it's a superhero movie and you're on another planet for one scene, you probably make that on a computer. So it really just depends on the situation. But building realistic sets is certainly not a lost art. And we're going to get another example of it next. Up next is the newest part of our studio tour. Also, you will get to see what they use for big outdoor special effects. If you look to the right as we head through there, there's a giant blue wall over there. That's an area that they use for large outdoor special effects right there. But here comes another real set. This is from Jordan Peele's new movie, Nope. This is the fictional theme park of Jupiter's Claim from the film. We're going to get a chance to ride through and look at the set, and we'll
Here's
also hear some of the
Jupiter's Glam,
sound effects
everyone.
from the film to create some atmosphere for us. And to tell you all more about it, I'm going to turn it over to the creator and director himself, Jordan Peele.
Jupiter's Glam.
Movie magic only happens when a team of collaborators, often in the hundreds, work together to take an impossible notion
Is that a
and bring
horse
it to
just
life.
got crashed by a
This
truck?
Yeah,
is Jupiter's Claim,
right
a nostalgic, small-time
That's a golden
Southern
horse.
California amusement
We
park
wish you
owned by
well,
former child
Jupiter's
star
Clan.
Ricky Jupe Park. Over there, look into the winking well and have your picture taken just like the kids in that old 90s movie Kid Show. That's what this whole place is loosely based on. Remember that one? No? Why? A little further down, you can see the brand new Star Lasso experience. Built to showcase an unbelievable new live show. It's not looking so live anymore. Anyway, behind this Hollywood fantasy of a gold rush frontier town lies a sinister secret.
What the heck?
Welcome to the world of no.
These sets are the work of production designer Ruth DeYoung. They filmed these scenes on the other side of those hills over there, up north of us, in a place called
By
Upwood
Jupiter's
Ocean.
Clam.
And when the filming was over, they just took it all down and then rebuilt it again right here as a new part of the tour. If you've had a chance to see Nope, you know a lot of the elements on that set are really important to the plot of that movie.
Bye, guys.
Jordan Peele took this tour when he was just 12 years old. That was one of the things that made him fall in love with
I'm
movie
about to
making.
end the live video.
So having one of his sets be a part of it now is pretty special. And this brings us to the final part of the tour, everybody.
Bye.
Sullivan.